Now, I got to stop here for 1 second. Is this guy trying to win me over? Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, the one Savior, who alone reveals the face of the Father. Great way to start. When you agree, no more all religions arrive at God. When is the last time you thought you found a bishop who was willing to be eaten by lions for the sake of the gospel? I gotta say, even though I was shocked yesterday and deeply concerned, and still the jury is out in my heart, these are clear statements. These are clear statements. Good ones, I would argue. An ark of salvation sailing through the waters of history, and a beacon that illuminates the dark nights.
By the way, my name is Joe McClane. I host a radio program called A Catholic Take, where we look at the world through a Catholic lens. I'd love for you to hang out with us. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and let us know what you think in the comments below.
I want to read for you what our Holy Father had to say at his first Mass. This is at roratecheli.blogspot.com. Jake, can we put this in the show notes today? The inaugural sermon of Leo XIV, Sistine Chapel, full text. This will be at thestationofthecross.com/ACT in the show notes today. But I was going to read you the English. He spoke in English, which is, amazing to hear. As John Henry Weston said last hour, it's amazing to hear that the Pope can speak perfect English, but he also spoke in Italian, and that's what I want to read for you because I think it's going to be the most impactful. This is Pope Leo XIV in his inaugural homily. Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, the one Savior, who alone reveals the face of the Father. Great way to start. When you agree, no more all religions arrive at God. We find truth everywhere, but where we find truth, that is Jesus Christ, because truth is a person. And the fullness of that truth is found only in his one holy and Catholic and Apostolic Church. So this statement, I think, is hopeful. Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, the one Savior who alone reveals the face of the Father. Wouldn't you agree? Leo goes on. In him, God, in order to make himself close and accessible to men and women, revealed himself to us in the trusting eyes of a child, in the lively mind of a young person, and in the mature features of a man, finally appearing to his disciples after the resurrection with his glorious body. He thus showed us a model of human holiness that we can all imitate, together with the promise of an eternal destiny that transcends all our limits and abilities. Peter, in his response, understands both of these things, the gift of God and the path to follow in order to allow himself to be changed by the gift. They are two inseparable aspects of salvation entrusted to the church to be proclaimed for the good of the human race. Indeed, they are entrusted to us, who are chosen by him before we were formed in our mother's wombs, reborn in the waters of baptism, and surpassing our limitations, and with no merit of our own, brought here and sent forth from here, so that the gospel might be proclaimed to every creature. In a particular way, God has called me by your election to succeed the Prince of the Apostles, and has entrusted this treasure to me, so that with his help, I may be its faithful administrator for the sake of the entire mystical body of the church. He has done so in order that she may be ever more fully a city set on a hill, an ark of salvation through sailing through the waters of history, and a beacon that illuminates the dark nights of this world. And this not so much through the magnificence of her structures or the grandeur of her buildings, like the monuments among which we find ourselves, but rather through the holiness of her members. For we are the people. This bears repeating. For we are the people whom God has chosen as his own, so that we may declare the wonderful deeds of him who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. I gotta say, even though I was shocked yesterday and deeply concerned, and still the jury is out in my heart, these are clear statements. These are clear statements. Good ones, I would argue. An ark of salvation, sailing through the waters of history, and a beacon that illuminates the dark nights of this world. Clarity is charity. For we are the people whom God has chosen as his own, so that we may declare the wonderful deeds of him who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. Clarity is charity. We are the people of the covenant. We are Israel. We are the people of the promise. Leo XIV goes on. Peter, however, makes his profession of faith in reply to a specific question. Who do people say the Son of Man is? The question is not insignificant. It concerns an essential aspect of our ministry, namely the world in which we live, with its limitations and its potential, its questions and its convictions. Who do people say that the Son of Man is? If we reflect on the scene we are considering, we might find two possible answers which characterize two different attitudes. First, there is the world's response. Matthew tells us that this conversation between Jesus and his disciples takes place in the beautiful town of Caesarea Philippi, filled with luxurious places, set in a magnificent natural landscape at the foot of Mount Hermon, but also a place of cruel power plays and the scene of betrayals and infidelity. If you've never Googled the Caesarea Philippi, go and Google it. Pull up a Google, type in Caesarea Philippi, Matthew 16, and you're going to see, and go to the images tab, and you'll see the images. It's a giant bald-faced rock on which is built a pagan temple, next to which is a chasm, which the locals said was the gates of Hades. And it is to here that Jesus speaks to his disciples and says, upon this rock, I will build my church. So no matter who sits on the chair of St. Peter and who bears the weight and the power of the keys, only Christ is the owner, creator, father of Holy Mother Church. St. Peter serves at the pleasure of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords as chief minister. I think it's important to keep that in your mind. This setting speaks to us, Leo goes on to say, of a world that considers Jesus a completely insignificant person. At best, someone with an unusual and striking way of speaking and acting. And so, once his presence becomes irksome because of his demands for honesty and his stern moral requirements, this world, he puts it in quotes, this world will not hesitate to reject and eliminate him. Then there is the other possible response to Jesus' question, that of ordinary people. For them, the Nazarene is not a charlatan, but an upright man who has courage, who speaks well and says the right things, like other great prophets in history of Israel. That is why they follow him, at least for as long as they can do so without too much risk or inconvenience. And that is certainly how I felt in the Francis pontificate for a long time, from 2013 to 2018. Trying to explain away all of his confusing statements to something that sounds reasonable. I went as far as I could until I could go no further. Leo XIV goes on, yet to them he is only a man, and therefore in times of danger during his passion, they too abandon him and depart disappointed. What is striking about these two attitudes is their relevance today. They embody notions that we could easily find on the lips of many men and women in our own time, even if, while essentially identical, they are expressed in different language. Even today, there are many settings in which the Christian faith is considered absurd, meant for the weak and unintelligent, settings where other securities are preferred, like technology, money, success, power, or pleasure. These are contexts where it is not easy to preach the gospel and bear witness to its truth, where believers are mocked, opposed, despised, or at best tolerated and pitied. Yet precisely for this reason, they are the places where our missionary outreach is desperately needed. A lack of faith is often tragically accompanied by the loss of meaning in life, the neglect of mercy, appalling violations of human dignity, the crisis of family, and so many other wounds that afflict our society. Today, too, there are many settings in which Jesus, although appreciated as a man, is reduced to a kind of charismatic leader or superman. This is true not only among non-believers, but also among many baptized Christians, who thus end up living at this level in a state of practical atheism. This is the world that has been entrusted to us, a world in which, as Pope Francis taught us so many times, we are called to bear witness to our joyful faith in Jesus the Savior. Therefore, it is essential that we too repeat with Peter, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Oh, yeah. We need to repeat that. We need to repeat that and not repeat the all religions arrive at one God stuff. Let us repeat rather what Peter said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Leo goes on, it is essential to do this, first of all, in our personal relationship with the Lord, in our commitment to daily journey of conversion, then to do so as a church, experiencing together our fidelity to the Lord and bringing the good news to all. I say this, first of all, to myself as the successor of Peter, as I begin my mission as Bishop of Rome, and according to the well-known expression of St. Ignatius of Antioch, I am called to preside in charity over the universal church. Now, I got to stop here for 1 second. I got to say, is this guy trying to win me over? I mean, I have to remain somewhat cautious here because of some of the issues in the background. In the past, some of those issues, I remain very, very cautious and pray. But he is naming Ignatius of Antioch. Ignatius of Antioch was someone who was pivotal to me in my conversion. Someone who was pivotal to me in giving my fiat, my yes to Holy Mother Church, to the Catholic Church. Ignatius of Antioch is the guy who gave us the word Catholic to describe the church in 110 AD, as he was on his way to be eaten by lions in the Colosseum in Rome. This is the guy who spoke about the flesh of Christ. This is the guy who spoke about the Blessed Virgin Mary in 110 AD. This is the guy who spoke about going, having to go to confession before receiving communion. And, Sunday is the new Sabbath. This is the guy who spoke about bishops, priests, and deacons in a hierarchical church in 110 AD. 110 AD. Where the bishop is, like Christ, there is the Catholic Church. 110 AD in his letter to the Samaritans. Pope Leo is quoting Ignatius of Antioch in his very first sermon. I think Leo is trolling me. I'm just being honest with you. Just being honest. St. Ignatius, Leo goes on to say, who was led in chains to this city, the place of his impending sacrifice, wrote to the Christians there, quote, "Then I will truly be a disciple of Jesus Christ when the world no longer sees my body," close quote, letter to the Romans. Ignatius was speaking about being devoured by wild beasts in the arena. And so it happened. By his words apply more generally, but his words apply more generally to an indispensable commitment for all those in the church who exercise a ministry of authority. When is the last time you thought you found a bishop who was willing to be eaten by lions for the sake of the gospel, for the sake of his greatest love, our Savior Jesus Christ, for his bride, the Holy Mother Church? When was the last time that you saw a bishop and were convinced that that guy is willing to be eaten by lions, have his head lopped off, crucified even? I don't know. Too many palace bishops, as St. Athanasius would say, are of the day and of the world. He goes on. It is to move aside so that Christ may remain, to make oneself small so that he may be known and glorified, to spend oneself to the utmost so that all may have the opportunity to know and to love him. May God grant me this grace today and always through the loving intercession of Mary, Mother of the Church. Pope Leo XIV. What do you think? I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that. I'll try to read some comments here.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.